Welcome everyone! Welcome to another episode of the Masterclass Mondays by Embedded Wizard. I am Kristin and I want to welcome you from the marketing side here at Terra Systems to our today's topic, which will be simulation. Our head of GUI services, Rudolf Leberfinger, will show you how you can simplify your simulation for your embedded code. Before I hand over to Rudolf, I want to mention that you do not need to worry if anything is too quickly covered. At the first hand, this session will be recorded so you can access it via our website later on. And now I want to hand over to Rudolf.
Thank you, Christine, for the pleasant introduction, and welcome to everybody joining today's masterclass. As Christine mentioned, today we want to talk about a simulation. So simulation, your user interface. And here I want to demonstrate to use simulation to simplify the development. With showing you how to create a simulation profile, how to add a simulation panel, and how to add simulation controls. As an example on how to add simulation, I already prepared here a small embedded wizard project. I'm now switching to this project. One moment. That's now my embedded wizard project, and that's a dashboard example. I just show you what this example is doing by prototyping it. So this example simply contains a start screen where you can press, it's animating and goes then to a car dashboard. And within this car dashboard you see that there are some LEDs which can blink, and then there are gauges which are here showing the current speed and the current power consumption. And in addition we have here a small navigation map and some other controls. Yeah, but now it's important how to simulate during development. And when I talk about simulation, I have to define what exactly does I mean with simulation. With simulation, I mean I want to simulate the data typically coming in by the middleware, so by the so-called device interface. Within this example, there is a unit dashboard, and inside this unit, we have here a device class, and inside this device class, a device interface is already implemented. So that means here the device itself, it can update the current speed or the auto, or the energy or battery, and also the LED status. In addition, we also have here a demo mode and an auto demo mode. That's especially for the demo itself. But now I want to show you how we can simulate this data input from middleware and how it would help you to really simplify your development of a user interface. What's important here when you start developing or when you want to really change something in your user interface, you may have the problem, I just go here into one of the things, that you have some gauge elements and you don't know exactly how it will look like if you have a certain speed which is coming in. Maybe it just should reach the speed, or it should animate when it changes from one speed level to another, or on a certain speed level maybe it should start blinking or whatever. To do this during development, I know that a lot of developers, they simply say, okay, here we just have the data coming in and we simulate it programmatically, just add here a certain value. Say, for example, that the current progress here equals 80. And then if I refresh here the whole stuff, it should display here maybe 80 or something else. I just revert the stuff. But that's not the way I want to do the simulation here, because simulation is much more and it should be also dynamically. What's important when I want to simulate this, I want to be able to have a simulation, maybe on the right side of it, where I also can control directly which values are going in for the simulation. Yeah, and now I want to show you how we can use such a simulation where you directly have controls to change here values which are normally coming from middleware with an embedded wizard. Doing this, I first have to create a simulation profile. Currently, we only have here a profile for Win32. Doing this, I want to go back to the project, and instead of the Win32, I just make a copy of it and I paste again. I have here a new profile and I call this profile, I'm sorry, with a rename button. I call this profile simulation, or better say it's the Win32 simulation, because I base it still on the Win32 profile itself. What's important now for the simulation, as I said, I want to have additional controls, but I always want to have the whole screen visible. So how should I achieve this goal? A quite simple way to do this is just to extend the screen size for my simulation profile. And I can easily do this to make it a little bit wider. So let's say it should not be 1280, it should be 1600. So doing this, I immediately would see when I select here the Win32 simulation profile and I start prototyping that I have a much bigger prototyper size. Yeah, but in this example, and the same maybe on your own user interface, the whole screens are centered. But this is not what I want to achieve. So I want to have the whole really content part of my application maybe put to the left of the screen. Now I can show you how to do this with an existing embedded wizard project. Here I just go to my unit application, and inside my application, just open it. Let me see what was done here. Inside the init, a simple dialog framework was used to present the dashboard start screen. So doing this, it will be added centered, but that's not what I want to achieve. What I can do to really have my whole presentation of the start screen on the left-hand side, I just add here a small container. And what I do here, I search for a simple core group and I put an instance of it into my project. You see here I have my core group and I say that's my container. Okay, and this container should have certain bounds. And the bounds for this container, it should start at 0, 0. And this should have the original size of my application. You immediately see here with the bounds, it belongs to these parts. If you want to have it a little bit smaller, I just make here the zooming to a level of 75 or level of 50, and you see the whole screens, and you see on the right hand side there is now some empty space. To put all my stuff into my container, I now simply has to say here container.present dialog. And this means that the whole dialog is now presented inside my container. I want to test it if this already works. I start the prototyper, and inside the prototyper I see that my whole dashboard demo is now on the left hand side. So when I start the engine, I would see that also the whole cluster elements here of the dashboard are on my left hand side. That's very nice. And now I have here some more space to put in additional stuff for the simulation. How to do this? Yeah, for sure. I could put in here now additional things like directly any controls or something else which I use for simulation. But to structure it in a better way, I always prefer to go into my project and just to create here a new unit, and this unit should be for simulation only. So I rename the unit to simulation, and that's now something which is only available on the simulation and also should not go to any production user interface. Inside my unit simulation, I want to do it a little bit nice, so I also put in here some annotation group and say maybe that this is a simulation classes. And for these simulation classes, now what I want to do, let's go back here to my application. Inside my application, one moment it's loading, I want to have here an additional panel which is only for simulation. Okay, let's do this. Go to simulation and add this panel. And I easily can do this by adding here a new component and say that's my simulation panel. The simulation panel, yeah, I open it. It's derived from a core group. This I don't need, also this I don't need. And for the bounds, I would say this is, the height is 720 for sure. Yeah, that's the full height. And now I have 1600 minus 1280. So I have 320 pixel for the width. This should be fine. I'm refreshing the whole stuff. That's now my simulation panel. And for sure also the simulation should have some dedicated background. So I go to my views and let's say here I add here some background rectangle. Put it here. Let's say it has some color. For simulation it really can be some color which immediately tells you that this is something for only for simulation. Let's give him a blue. And that's now my simulation panel. Adding the simulation panel now to the application, for sure I easily could do it directly in the application. So that means putting the simulation panel in here. But then it's always a part of my application and may really go to any production user interface. And this I want to avoid. What I can do here is simply go here to my application and make a variant of my application. And I want to do this now, showing you some small nice things on Embedded Wizard. You can easily say you do it by drag and drop with modifier keys. It's Control, Shift, and the Alt key for variant, and then simply drag it to my simulation panel and have it available here. And now I have a variant of my application. I give here a variant condition and say this is only relevant if the profile Win32 simulation is active. Only in this case now this variant is instantiated. And what's the variant doing? I'm opening the variant, make it a little bit smaller. You see it's in principle currently the same as my pure application. But in addition to the pure application, I want to add into this variant my simulation panel. A very nice way to do this is just to say I have here my simulation and paste an instance of the simulation panel into my variant. And now I have everything coming from my real application and in addition the simulation panel, which is added only to the variant. What's happening now? When I start prototyping my Win32 simulation, then you see it starts with my simulation panel on the right hand side. If I do the same for the Win32 only, and I start prototyping, it ignores the variant and I just have my user interface in the same way I want to have it for my target system. Going back here to the Win32 simulation, we see now also here the screen size is extended. I see everything in here. Yeah, but now that's no longer needed. I just can focus on my simulation panel. What I already explained, that within the simulation, I want now to modify things which are typically coming from my device. So I take a look on this device interface, and maybe here the middleware or any incoming data or whatever is updating the speed, the order, the energy, whatever. Let's start with a simple thing, doing it with the speed. And with the speed, I simply go to my simulation. Oh, check again, it's an Int32, yes. Go to the simulation panel. What I can do now, I simply can use already prepared widgets. And for a speed, for sure, it may make sense to just do it with a slider. Yeah, put in here a slider, and let's give them also some names. So let's go to the views. Let's put in a fuse text, and this fuse text, give him also some color, give him also some font, maybe also here some bigger font, like here from the resources medium font, and say here that this is my speed. Okay, that's the first part. Bound I don't need here. I need here some more space, or let's keep the bounds here. Put this whole speed stuff a little bit below. Also here do a proper alignment so that it looks good. It's now centered because it has same coordinates. And let's say a little bit more down what I want to do now when the speed changes. So in principle here I simply added a widget, and as we learned in sessions before, I could connect here the outlet of a widget to any device properties, like to the dashboard device speed. This will work. If I do this, I connect it to the speed, then let's prototype the whole stuff. Start the engine, and you will see that here I can modify the speed. Ah, yeah, I see there is also an auto mode that it's during the demo, there is already some pre-given sequences of changing the speed. To have a good testing, I want to disable this speed changes. Doing this, going back to the device class, I have here something like the demo mode. Yeah, let's check where this demo mode is activated. I simply let's search for it, and I now say I copy this, press Ctrl Shift F for the global search, paste for demo mode search, search for it. There's a lot of demo mode. Do it again and check where something is assigned to the demo mode. And I see that the demo mode becomes true as soon as dashboard navigation finished. Okay, here the demo mode starts. Yeah. In a simple way, I easily first could here deactivate the demo mode, because that's driven hard-coded in this demo. And now let's check again by starting the prototyper what will happen here. Okay, start here the dashboard. That's the initial part, and now nothing happens here, and I can easily modify the speed now with this horizontal slider. That's a very easy thing. But talking about real simulation, I want to do a little bit more. Because when I just connect, I connect it directly to my speed property. And that means whenever I change my horizontal slider, I directly will assign some new values to my property speed of the device interface. From a middleware side, typically the update speed method is called. So I just go inside here. You learned it on the sessions for device integration. So the middleware would call update speed method with the new value, and then it's really assigned here. And what I want to do on simulation side, I want to have exactly the same interfaces. That means also with my simulation panel, I want to call this update speed a method. How to do this? Because here I have something which just belongs to an outlet. I just add now here my own property. Let's go here to my property and say that's a property simulation speed. It's also an int property, and I just assign now here my horizontal slider to my sim speed. Now the slider via the outlet is just connected to this simulation speed property. And here on set of sim speed, I just store the value. But what I want to do here, I also want to call here my dashboard device speed becomes value. So that's quite important. I'm sorry, I just say here device dot update speed. That's what I want to do with my value. And with this API call, I now can really simulate exactly the same function calls as on the real device. That means also if there are any dedicated manipulators for the incoming value or anything else, then the simulation here will behave exactly the same way as later on the user interface on the device. Yeah, that's now one way I just can show you. That means I start here the prototyper, going again to the dashboard. That's now just the first check. Now the speed change on 0. And now I can really adjust here the speed. And the speed adjustment, that's really done with a call of the device class. I just go here in the device class, update speed, set in here a breakpoint, going back to my simulator and just modify something, and you see I'm really here within the update speed, and I got some new value. I just remove the breakpoint and continue, and that's the way I want to do. Now I want to have it also in a different way. So that means that any change on speed via the device interface also will have an effect on my simulation panel. How can I do this? In the simulation panel, I need now a connection between my device speed to my sim speed. And this I do by simply here make an observer relation. So I add here a slot method. Let's call this on speed changed. I copy this. Also add here within an init. I just here override the init method and call attach observer for my slot with a reference to dashboard device speed. And don't forget post signal for my slot to at least call it once on start of the simulation panel. Within this on speed changed, I simply know that something changed on my device speed property, and I can now say sim speed becomes my dashboard device speed. So it really assigned just the value of my device speed to my sim speed. Now I can see when I start the prototyper, as soon as we go to the dashboard, that even the initial simulation, so even this part, if it's really realized via the device, no, it's not realized the device, it's just simulation of the control itself. But as soon as here any simulation will start, also the speed will be shown. Yeah, let's check if that happens. Going then again to my demo mode. Let's immediately start the demo mode and just start prototyper again. Start the engine. And on the dashboard, that's the initial animation. Now the demo mode starts. Oh, and nothing happens here. What's wrong? Let's easily debug and see what happens. Set a breakpoint. Yeah, sim speed. Oh yeah, what I remember. I used a simple property. And what for sure, what I forget here to say, notify observers for all references to sim speed, because that's typically the way we also do it for all our device properties. So that means going to a device class. Here exactly we have the same for the speed. In the simulation panel for sure I have to do the same, so that I inform with notify observers the connected horizontal slider about any change. Okay, let's continue with the prototyping, remove the breakpoint, stop prototyping, start prototyper again, and now we should really see that it works. I start the engine. We have here our controls. And now we see that the speed really is changing. The whole simulation here also directly has an effect to my speed within my simulation panel. Okay, that's a way to control the speed. Now we have this demo mode. And I also want to control this demo mode active or not active. How to do this? I easily can add here also from the widgets a toggle button, because it's a Boolean state. Let's say this one, I move it a little bit down. This one, let's put it here and make it a little bit nicer. And this should reflect directly to the demo mode. Doing it in the same way like here with the speed, I simply now copy and paste here the sim speed, and I call this sim demo mode. And then with the same mechanism, I just replace here the stuff and I say device demo mode becomes value. That's one thing. And here I just say not on speed change, on demo mode changed. And when this happens, I also say that my sim demo mode becomes device demo mode. And that's now not an int32 property, it should be a bool property like we see here. I just say that this is a bool I can type in or also select here. It's my bool default I do not assign because I want to get it directly also from my device class. And here with my widget, I say that the outlet belongs to my sim demo mode. And in the init, I do the same as before. I just copy the stuff here to be much faster. I copy here the name of my slot and say attach observer demo mode dashboard device demo mode. So now I attached here my slot to a reference of demo mode, and also I call as a post signal this slot. Doing again here the prototyping. I have some blinking stuff. So what's done here? Demo mode. That's not known. Device update demo mode for sure. That's what I have to call. And I start again the prototyper. Start the engine. As soon as here the initial animation sequence is done, the demo mode starts. I still named it caption. I have to rename to make it to give him a proper name. And when I say here that this is disabled, then also it stops here with the demo mode. Perfect. Going back here, I forgot here to rename. So that's my demo mode. Oh, that doesn't look nice. Make it a little bit wider and say here demo mode. Yeah. And that's my speed. Also make a proper alignment that it looks a little bit better, and say here that the text alignment, it belongs horizontal left. Then I can easily say it also ends here with the demo mode. Yeah, that's fine. Now I have here a simulation of a Boolean property for my device class, and I have a simulation also for an integer property. The same I could do also if I would have here some float, maybe then just make here out of an integer a float within my simulation property. And this way I can easily at least everything I need here for the device interface. Yes, but I should not forget about strings. So let me check what we can do here in the dashboard device class. I have the integer, the Boolean, and maybe I also could add something for string usage within my simulation panel. What we can add, let me think about. What about having here some status display, or let's say some, maybe weather display on my dashboard. Doing this, I go to the device and add here a property of type string. It's a string. By default should be nothing. And this string, it should be, let's say, the weather, which is presented then as a string coming here from the middleware. It's presented via the device interface. And let's say it's update weather. And this update weather, it's a string, not an int32. So it's string a new value, then it's assigned to my weather, and it says notify observer for the weather. That's fine. Yeah, and where to present this weather? Let me see in my dashboard. There is the core group dashboard. Let's open it. Yeah, immediately here, the first element, it's a fuse text. Yeah, maybe I directly can use this. So then I just let here assign something to the fuse text. In principle, I would do here a nice widget which directly can be assigned to this property of type string and just presenting it. But now for short demonstration, I just make it on an programmatic way. So adding here a slot, say it's an on update weather, or even better on weather changed. That's nice when the weather has changed. Okay, let's go to the init, and let's also say here attach observer on weather changed, and it belongs to my dashboard device, device.weather, and call post signal on weather changed. That means I now have attached this slot to a reference of weather whenever the weather changed. So whenever a new string comes in, the related slot is called. And here I just say that I guess it was called Munich string becomes dashboard device weather. Yes, that's fine. This is just an helper. So that means now whenever the weather string is changed, we have the device interface. Here the text view shows a new string. Now adding this to the simulation panel. In the simulation panel, I want to have a possibility to manipulate strings for this device interface. And a quite easy way is to just type in whatever string I want to have. What we can use here is simply from our component templates something like a text editor. In the text editor, it's a component template. It's not a ready-to-use widget. Therefore, I really would like here to add a new text editor to our simulation. And I can do this by simply going to the simulation unit, putting here the template in, and now it's available. I go to my simulation panel, and within the browser, I already search here for the text, and I can simply add it here by drag and drop. And now I have here my text input available. It's a text editor. I simply can type in here any text. Let's do a prototype of this panel itself. And you see I can give it a focus and can type in something. To make it more nice, I simply copy here my text views, and let's say that's my weather text. Put a little bit down, make this bigger, and make this also in a quite nice appearance. And let's say it get a little bit different color. And in the background, I would like to put in here a filled rectangle, just to have the appearance of a nice text input. I'm moving now my text editor on top of my rectangle, and that's available. And now I have here my text editor, and this text editor has an on change slot, so it notifies any change of the text inside. And I just create here a new slot and say that on text changed. This slot I just assign here by copy and paste to here my on change. It's now my on change text changed slot. And what I do inside this, I simply say here, copy the text editor and say dashboard device dot weather becomes text editor, and it's a string of the text editor. I'm saving the whole stuff, and now let's see if really here any change of this text will have an effect on my dashboard panel. I can start the prototyper, start the engine. It changes to the dashboard. I still have here, nothing in because I said nothing is there. And as soon as you type here in something like weather for Munich with 22 degrees Celsius. Oh yeah, immediately you see here I had a typo, but text box, it's too small for such a string. So that means in the simulation panel, you also can easily test what happens if longer string will be provided to the device interface and how it will be shown really on your screen. And this you can test in a fully dynamic way via the simulation panel for text input. Okay, I hope that this helps you to see what can be done here with simulation. And to give you some more information, it's not only to add here one simulation panel with a lot of simulation controls. You can do it in a more sophisticated way by, for example, adding here different simulation panels with changing here different tabs, and then each belongs to a different mode of your screen or a different screen type or the content, or even more sophisticated. You can automatically here adjust the whole simulation stuff based on the content. That means, for example, you're listening also to any screen change and adjusting here dynamically the simulation. This is a quite nice way really to test something during the development, to easily see what happens on the user interface when any data changes which is coming in from middleware side. And that's what I want to show you within today's session. I switch back now here to the slides, and that's now the place where you can say what's your questions. And Christine, please check, are there already any questions available?
Thanks, Rudolf. Now we're coming back to our attendees and to our questions part. The first question I received is, how can I simulate multiple data changes at once?
Oh, nice question. How can I simulate multiple data changes at once? Let's go back to our project and see what we can do here so that I can demonstrate you here multiple data changes. Maybe here we have also a few LEDs which are available, and in the device class we have here the related Boolean properties. That means whenever one of these properties is set to true, the LED will be on, and on if it's false, it will be off. And this also we can simulate. And for multiple at once, let's do this with an action. And let's say here with the action, we go to our widgets and add here a push button. And let's say this push button, that's the push button activate LEDs. And let's here just activate all of them. And then add here a new slot, activate LEDs. I assign the slot to the push button within the on activate. And simply in this activate LEDs, I would say here dashboard device dot LED 0 becomes true. I do it for multiple. Let's see what the last one. It's LED 5. Okay, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And let's do it in a more sophisticated way so that I also can disable and simply say my var bool status is, and let's just check what's the first LED. And here just toggle the status. Status becomes not status, and then just assign the status, and this will allow us to simply toggle here the stuff. Let's now start the prototyper and see if this really has the related effect. Start the engine. I see now my dashboard. That's the initial effect. Now all are off. I stop the demo mode, so nothing happens here. And if I say activate LEDs, all are on, and again they are off. And you see easily I can here simulate multiple things at once. Okay, that's for this question. Christine, do you have any other questions on the list?
Thanks. And let's go straight to the next question. Is it possible to add a simulation panel on my device?
Question, is it possible to add a simulation panel on the device? Yeah, for sure. With the simulation, that's now for Win32 simulation. And what I did here to have everything available in the prototyper, let's go here back to the simulation and open this again. I put in here the simulation panel besides the real screen. If you want to put it on your device, you only have this size available for your screen. But what's possible for the device if you also add here with your device, so profile something and then a simulation and a dedicated profile, so you then make a variant where you have your application available. But let's say the simulation panel then can be overlaid on your typical device user interface. And maybe you activate it by a certain action, trigger it maybe by a double click on a corner, or by a dedicated hard button, or by a debug command you're sending in. And then you just have your simulation panel on top of your device. I say it would be maybe here, and maybe give him a little bit of transparency so that you see through your real content of your GUI application. I just revert here. I hope that this gives you a good answer to your question.
Let's come to a third and last question. Can I simulate key input?
Yes, also interesting question. How can I simulate key input? For sure, simulation for key input, in principle, it can be done via the keyboard keys themselves. That means if you start here the prototyper and you press here, let's say, the control key, then you get here all the keyboard commands which are available during prototyping. If you want to do it in a different way, then you simply can say, okay, I want to do it here in my simulation panel. And this I can do maybe by just adding here a widget like a button, and say this button is maybe the enter button. Also add then a slot method and say here on enter, assign it to the button within the onActivate. And on enter, what should happen? I really want to send now a key event through the interface which you also use on your target device. And that's for key events, not the device, it's the root class. So I say var core root, my root, and I get it via the get root method. And now if there is a root available, I could say root drive keyboard hitting, which is the method called from the platform package to insert key events, and with a code core key code dot enter. Character code we have no, because not any character key, and the down is true. It's now the down press. And I also want to simulate the up event, which should also come here from the device. So it's true and false. And this way I already simulate here the key press. Doing a prototype, I can press here an enter key. Oh, I made here a mistake. It equals, start the prototyper, press enter key, and you see it's already reacting on this, because I guess on the demo we used here a standard button, and that means instead of pressing on the button we also can insert an enter key. The start button was reacting on this and is starting then the dashboard. Okay, I hope this answers some of your questions.
Yes, Rudolf, I think so. Thank you very much. Dear ladies and gentlemen, we have a final announcement at this point in time for you. The Masterclass Mondays Advanced series is coming to an end with this session, with today's session. So there won't be any masterclass in the coming week. Nevertheless, stay tuned in case we come back with further formats in the near future. At this point in time, the whole Embedded Wizard team wants to say thank you to all the attendees, to all of your active attendance in form of sending us your questions and feedback. If you still want to let us know something concerning your GUI development or anything else, there will be still a pop-up window after this webinar series will be closed, where you can send us questions, critique, feedback, whatever you wish us to send. We appreciate that very much. So let us know if we can be of further help for you. We coming back to you one-to-one. As I said at the beginning, of course, you will have the recording of this session available in the near future. I thank you very, very much for your attendance. Stay healthy, take care, and bye bye.